Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen! Happy New Year 2023, or whenever you're watching this in the future! I'm the Don Spector, and today I'm taking a closer look at the Lenovo X5 bone-conduction headphone. So, yes, today we are taking a look at an, I want to say, more sporty related product. And before I directly jump into the review, most of the viewers here, at least according to statistics of my other unboxing of this one, will probably not know who I am or what I'm doing. So I will give you a very quick introduction of my person. Hey, I'm Don Spector, and I'm usually an audio enthusiast. That means I'm usually taking a look at audio products, for instance, headphones, IEMs, amplifiers, or whatever else, in terms of sound quality. Yeah, so usually I will be taking a look at things like this one, the Moondrop Variations, for instance, which follows almost one-to-one the Harman target, which is a reference target for headphones or IEMs. Or this one, this is the Sandara, also a pretty good enthusiast product. But yes, I'm also a sporty dude, so I do karate in my spare time, more specifically Rio, and I also like to go jogging, and I like to play basketball and a few other sporty things. So when I spotted this thing, I thought, yes, this is a product that I do want, and I got it. And yes, it clocks in Germany at this moment at between like 35 and 50 euros, depending where you get it. And so yeah, it's on the lower end of bone conduction headphones, but there's one killer feature, and this is 8 GB of internal storage. And yes, I love this feature, and this is also why I got it, because usually when I go jogging or whatever, I do not have my smartphone with me, and I do not want to have it with me, just because for convenience and for safety. Because yeah, if you lose it or if something happens, well, you're screwed. So this thing is exactly right up my ballpark, and yeah, with its feature set, I also thought, yeah, let's give it a shot. And then let's start with the review here. And usually I structure my review in different chapters, and these will be 6 in number. First one, packaging and accessories, which you can see I already have here. Second one will be build quality. The third one, isolation. And then fourth one, smart functionality and battery life. Then we talk about sound quality. And last but not least, obviously, the verdict. So yes, this is the packaging. As most other IEMs or headphones, it comes in black cardboard, and it has this slide out mechanism. You just do whoop, and then it's removed. On the back you have a few information about battery, about materials, and whatever else. Also, yeah, battery life, like it's all of the important information you would need. Then you have this relatively thick and sturdy cardboard, which is pretty nice. Like at this price point, usually you get quite a bit less, which might not be good, because yeah, when you get more money spent into the packaging instead of into your actual audio product. But also like the style here, you can see it has this like more shiny rings around on the cardboard. Definitely looks nice. And then you have Lenovo printed on here and some Chinese, which I unfortunately cannot read because I can't read or speak or even understand Chinese. Yes, and then we open it, and on the inside you do get your manual here. The headphone would be beneath here. It's probably difficult to see. There's like foam thingies in the bottom. The headphone would be in there like that. And then you have parts inside here, which at the moment does not include anything. It's empty, sorry. It does include this beautiful thing, which we talk about later on when we talk about build quality. And you also get your charging cable, which we can see here. It is an proprietary 4-pin charger here that is magnetic, and it ends into USB-A. It's about a meter long, and to be precise, like 90 centimeters. And yeah, that's pretty much it that there's about accessories. Like, of course, you have the manual here, which is in Chinese and English, fortunately, so you do not have to understand Chinese in order to use it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then let's talk about the next chapter, which is build quality. Whoop. Let's get this out, and let's get our bone conduction headphone in the picture. And I'll be starting off with the obvious one, with the 4 pins here. Yes, those are the charging pins, as you can see, and the charger, as we demonstrated, goes on like this. I find this is this is not particularly like convenient, but it still works well enough. So if you put it like here, it doesn't go on, and if you just put it like this, it automatically snaps on. That totally works fine. My main complaint though is, where can you buy this if the cable gets damaged? I have not been able to find any seller that sells this particular charger, so maybe you have to buy a completely new headphone if you're unlucky and this cable gets damaged in whatever else. So I would like to see at least offerings from Lenovo selling this charging cable, but maybe in the meantime, after like, I don't know, like November or so last year when I looked it up, maybe now you can buy it, question mark, don't know. So yes, this also has the on and off button and also the button to control your bone-conduction headphone. More about that later on when we talk about functionality. And then you come to the ear hook here, which is very hard plastic. Like there's no way you can bend this, absolutely zero. Like not even breaking is likely because this is really hard plastic. Then here you have this like glued on thing that connects the headband with the ear hook here, which unfortunately does not match the general aesthetics because it's kind of shiny and everything else is matte. I mean, okay, for 30 euros, not much of a complaint here. Then we come to the headband, which I talk about as last, because yeah, there's a small purple there. And on the other side, basically you have the same looks again, this shiny ring here and then matte, and then yeah, the other transducer on this side. Let's flip it around and look at the seams here. Yeah, so you can see there clearly is a visible seam around the edge here. And for 30 euros, I would say it's totally acceptable. It does not too bad to the finger and it does not also distract in any way. On the inside of the ear hook, which is probably very difficult to see here, but you can see it here at the bottom, there's also a seam, but this one does not cause any discomfort on my ear. And yeah, for 30 euro, I think this is totally acceptable in terms of build quality. Obviously, if you go more expensive, it gets better, but for 30 euro or like 35, something like that, it's fine. Yes, not much to complain here. And then let's quickly take a look at the transducer here. Yeah, for everyone not knowing, transducer is actually the component that causes the sound or what creates the sound. And here the transducer is covered by a rubber surface. And you can see there's actually some glue here at the sides on the transducer. So that is not so nice, but at least it's glued on and it should be watertight, question mark. Officially the X5 here is rated as IPX8, and at least I would trust Lenovo as a like company to have a real, in quotes, IPX rating, unlike other cheap companies that just claim they have an IPX rating but never did any real rating there. And yeah, however, when we talk about build quality and the transducer here, and yeah, let's again flip it around. These contacts, obviously you don't want those to have any connection between them when you go like swimming or whatever, because IPX8 would mean you can go swimming. So this is where this flimsy cap comes in. And yes, unfortunately it is really flimsy. So to get it on here, you kind of put it over like that. And then you try to force it over this one. And as you can see, this procedure is neither really easy, nor is it error-free. And I would actually argue the opposite. This is pretty error-prone procedure. And I'm not sure if I would recommend to go swimming with this, just because this whole thing is so flimsy. I'm not sure if you really manage and like sufficient sealing with that. Like, I'm pretty sure there will always be water inside and it will maybe do the exact opposite, because yeah, if you have a water film between these contacts, it will create a short. So I'm not sure if I would recommend these for swimming. And yeah, so not the greatest construction for IPX8, and I don't like this at all. However, if you go jogging or if you go biking or whatever else, I have been jogging with this through rain already and it's totally fine, it's arrived that. So I'm pretty sure, at least in terms of build, it should be waterproof enough for most of the stuff that you want to do. Okay, and I think last but not least, let's talk about this, like the headband in quotes here. The headband itself is sturdy enough, like you can see it does flex enough without like showing any signs of breaking or so, but It's difficult to see, but this is really cheap rubber. It does feel kind of like sticky in a bad way, and it also has a slight smell. Unlike everything else, like this does not smell. The rubber on the inside here does not smell, and it's also pretty smooth. But this here has a slight rubber smell and it feels sticky. This is really not good quality. It feels like one of those really cheap cables that you get in like $5 headphones or something like that. It's not great. And I'm not sure how long it will even last, like looking like this, because when it already feels so sticky, usually means it starts to deteriorate already at just normal air conditions. Not great at all. But genuinely, overall, sum it up, I think this is fine. Like, I do not have too much complaints for 35 to 50 euros, especially because it also has onboard storage. So yeah, let's come to the next chapter, comfort. And yeah, if you are curious, in my IEM reviews, I usually throw on measurements of the sizes of the different dimensions of the product, so you can know if it will fit you or not. However, with this one, I don't think it's too useful, so I will just give you the measurements, like how it comes out of the box here. So yes, in a barely stretched state like this, it is about 12 centimeters in width. And yeah, that usually means it should fit most heads. Maybe not kids' heads, but like young adult or like smaller adults, it should be totally fit you without any issue. And if you try to stretch it to like maximum, but it still like makes sense, something like that, I measured about 20 centimeters width. So that also means it should fit pretty big heads sufficiently. And the depth, I mean, in this orientation from here to here, and this state would be about 13, and obviously if you extend it, right, it gets reduced a bit. So I think if something is the problem, it might be the depth, but even there I don't think it's too much of an issue, because if I wear it on my medium, so big sized head, like I usually wear helmets in size L, obviously then let me pronounce it like German or European L, so I'm not sure how that relates to US L. Yes, so yeah, like this I usually have like this much of spare room at the back, like a few centimeters, so it really should be fine for most heads from what I experienced it. And yeah, in terms of comfort, it does fit my head sufficiently well. Like, I do not feel any discomfort. It just stays above my, or like in front of my ear on the temple bone, and it just doesn't create any discomfort for me. In fact, I would say in the opposite. I wish it would have even a bit more pressure, so the bone conduction can actually work better. Because that is a small issue when we talk about sound later on, but it's not too bad. So yeah, let's continue. The ear hooks, on the other hand, I think this is where the main problem might occur if you want to wear the X5 in day-to-day usage. Because these are not adjustable, and the diameter here is also on the medium to small size. So if you have big ears, it can be that this transducer here does not actually sit on your temple bone, and there's no way to really adjust it, because like you can't even like pull it in this direction, it's just fixed like that. So I'm not a fan of this one, but again, for 35 to 50 euros, with its feature set, I still find it fine. Like, maybe not the greatest technology in terms of comfort here, but for this pricing, you don't really have many other options. So I give it a pass there. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what is important to comfort. Yeah, for bigger heads, it should be fine. On smaller heads, you do not have enough pressure. But if you wear something like an L helmet or something like that, it should be fine enough. You don't need to worry about it. Then, next chapter, let's talk about isolation. And yeah, I have this in here because this is an open back design. That means there's nothing over your ears. So your ear would be something like here, and the transducer would be in front of it. So there's really no isolation whatsoever. And that means if you want to go jogging or something else in the main city center or at main roads, it's not the best choice. Really, you will get all of the noise from around you, which can be like wanted if you want to be safe and you want to hear your environment. But on the other hand, it also means that, yeah, if it's loud around you. And then adding to the loudness will of course be the audio that this produces. So I think if you are living in a major city and you want to, I want to say, enjoy a bit of music while doing your workout in the city center, like whatever, I would not recommend bone conduction for that. But if you were just go jogging in a park or somewhere that's not so loud, or you go in the gym or something where it's usually fine, this will be an option for you. Just again, let me stress, it has no isolation whatsoever. Like really you hear everything how it is around you, like no dampening. Okay, then next chapter. Let's talk about smart functionalities, usability, and battery life. And yes, in terms of smart functions, in quote, this does not have active noise cancelling or anything else. It just comes as is. And the most smart thing, in quotes, that you can expect from this is a simple microphone. And yeah, the microphone, let me get it closer, you can see, is covered by a kind of type of like plastic. So it should be watertight there, but it's about it what you can expect. There's no app, there's no controls of anything, there's no equalizer, there's nothing to do. It's just how it is, and that's it. But as I said before in the introduction, for me it has a killer feature of 8 GB of internal storage. That means on this side there's a very small chip of memory that contains 8 GB where you can store all of your data on. That means like you can throw your MP3s on, your music, your audiobooks, or whatever you like. Or if you want to, yeah, you can connect it via Bluetooth to your smartphone. I obviously got it for these 8 GB of internal storage, and that's how I use it most of the times. So sorry for this cut, where was I? Oh yeah, the controls. If you hit the on and off button, which is here again, 4 times, it goes from Bluetooth mode to MP3 mode, and it directly starts playing a random song. And yeah, when we talk now about controls, and I would say the control scheme here is okay. It's intuitive enough to work. So yeah, usually single tap is play pause, but this function apparently is not important. It's not even mentioned in the manual. So kind of funny detail here. And if you double tap, it increases the volume by 1 step. And if you triple tap, it reduces the volume by 1 step. Next track is triggered with a 1 second touch. And on and off is about 5 seconds of continuous touching. So it's usable for me, and yeah, it does usually work for me totally fine. Oh yeah, and in Bluetooth mode, you can hang up calls with 2 taps if you are currently in a call. And if you listen to music, similar to the MP3 mode, 2 taps is the next song there. And yeah, apparently, if you are having Apple, the X5 is also supposed to support Siri, which can be activated with a 1 second touch. So I cannot test it, unfortunately, because I do not have an Apple device. But if you have, feel free to leave a comment and tell me if it works or not. And now let's talk about battery life. And before that, I think we have to quickly touch onto the volume controls. As I said, double tap is in MP3 mode, volume up. Triple tap, volume down. And there is exactly 11 steps in volume adjustment, where I have to say, I think the lowest 2 levels don't make any sense at all. Like they basically don't produce any volume that is noticeable besides some spikes in your songs. So yeah, when you have 9 volume levels left where you can play with, and the highest 2 volume levels unfortunately also have a noticeably distortion to it. So that also is not great. Meaning instead of 11 levels to my ear, you only have -2, and -2 means you have 7 levels of volume where you can actually listen music with. And even those are not really loud. So if you are really at a main road, it could be that this does not get loud enough for you there. But generally, if you go jogging here in Germany, I live in a suburb of a major city, it's fine. Like I didn't have any problems with the volumes. But again, let me say, it will probably not be sufficient for you if you live like really in, let's say, Berlin here in Germany. That can be pretty brutal in terms of volume, and this will just not be loud enough to work there. And again, passive isolation doesn't have as well, so yeah, maybe not the best choice for city center. Okay, battery life itself though is about 6 hours, which is not great, but also not terrible. And in everyday usage, to my experience, it manages like 5.5 hours at medium volume and about fully charged. So that is a bit less than spec, but it's still like close enough that I can say, yeah, it's acceptable, you know, like let it be. Oh yeah, and last but not least, charging time is 2 hours, and as I said, you just try to get this on here like that, like this, and then you also notice it is directly moved on, and then it will charge. So that's pretty much it about usability and smart functionality and so on. So let's come to sound, and yeah, let me repeat again. Usually I'm an audio enthusiast. That means I measure my devices with a standardized microphone, and I will also be throwing on a graph here, so just for you as reference so you can see. And I will not go into detail on how you interpret this graph. Let's just say this is an approximation of how a headphone will sound to your ear. And just as reference for the other enthusiasts here, I will throw on an REM, the Moondrop Variations, and the Hyperman Sandara, an over-ear open headphone. So you can just have a reference how these look like on my coupler and how the X5 is measured with my coupler as well. However, disclaimer here, my rig does not represent the human ear or the human head. That means I cannot measure how the reality will be on every head. Like, I can't do that. It does not have the temple bone in there. But what my measurement does show you is what frequencies are produced if you like measure it just raw like this over a microphone that will represent the ear canal. It is not the same as it would be if you have it on your temple bone, but at least gives you a kind of idea on how it will sound like to a human ear that on human head where it is put on. And general sound characteristic would certainly describe as V-shape. That means the lower frequencies here after like 300 Hertz are pronounced, and the upper frequencies about like after 2K are pronounced. And yeah, as it is the case with bone conduction, you cannot produce frequencies below, let's say, like 200 Hertz. And also after, like, I want to say, to my ear, it's like 8K or so, there's no real information present there. Which is, again, strange, because Lenovo says it goes from 20 Hertz to 20 kilohertz, which absolutely is not the case. Not on my rig and not on my ear. To my ear, it sounds like that in terms of bass, it goes until 200 Hertz. That means you do get a bit of bass energy there, like there is a punch there, but it's just not enough. It already starts to fall off at 200 Hertz. And in the upper frequencies, I want to say like to my ears, like past 7K or so, it also starts to drop off, and you definitively do not have air frequencies. Yes, air frequencies mean like past like 10K or like even let's say 9K, there's no real information present after that. And this means in terms of my usual sound analysis, I don't think it's even worth doing it. Because while this one, at least, that it has an ear gain, which is what you need. Like ear gain just means your ear will amplify frequencies naturally in a specific region. And there you do want let me show you, like a slope going up. And this has ear gain. So that is fine. It just, to my ear, it has a bit too much ear gain. That's also what my graph shows. That means it can come off as a bit shouty. And after that, it also directly dips down to my ear as well. Not as bad though as the graph is shown here. So for your reference, after like 3K, there will be a dip. And to my ear, this dip is not as pronounced as it like on my head as it is on the graph. But still there is a dip. And that means you also lack the clarity, let's say like past 3 to 5K. Like there's not enough information, not enough clarity going on to give you an impression of real good music. And that also means that this thing comes off as, a bit mid, not for word, but like at least it has mids going on, you know, like it's clear enough that I did not find it too bad. I mean, sometimes I would say they sound a bit muffled, which probably is, related to the bass already starting to rise at like 350 Hertz or something like that. That's when you get like the muddiness. That's what audio enthusiasts would say there. But it's fine enough that I would say, like it's good for music if you just want to go to sport and don't care too much about details. So yes, like there is a bit of bass you have a bit of trouble, but it's really not worth talking too much about sound here. And that's why I will not throw on more information than necessary, because usually my audio reviews would still contain something like soundstage, layering, and imaging as one chapter. And as another one, something like separation, dynamics, and coherence, including timbre. These all don't apply to this device. Like, it's just not good enough that I can't even rate this. But again, I'm not sure if this is a controversial opinion. It also does not need to do so. This is absolutely not necessary. As long as you get a bit of bass, a bit of vocals, and a bit of treble, it is fine. You only need to get the gist of your music by doing sports. And for this, I find the X5 totally sufficient. Absolutely zero problem. When I do sports, and I throw on a quick additional chapter here, sound while doing sport, yeah, you do get most of the details and quotes what your song has. Like, you do get the vocals, you do get strings, you do get a bit of bass below. It's totally fine, and it does everything I needed to do with sport. Just give me a beat, then I can make sports to. Totally fine with that. And also, because it has 8 GB of internal storage, I can just press the on button, flop it over my ears, and be going. So nice to have this feature. And the main problem I have with sport in general, how this sits on my head. It does usually wobble around like this a bit, and that then means if I do like real karate, if I do kicks, if I do punches, if I do like jumps or whatever, it will constantly move around over my ears and the sound will change when I do that. It's not too great because it's just not stable enough on my head, so I always have the same sounding experience. And I wish there would be something to like adjust it to like, or a bit more pressure so it just stays more in place. But other than that, it is fine for sport, and really, if you just want to use this as a sporty device, it does the job. Okay, quick edit here, sorry, I forgot to talk about the microphone. Yeah, the microphone does work well enough. Lenovo claims it does a noise cancellation technology. They call it E&C, which is not A and C, but I think they want to sell it as that. And to my experience, when I was outside, I did not encounter like main city center. So I can't tell you how much it really cuts out noise. But just for calls, it should be fine. Like, I have recorded, I think, like 20 seconds or so of my voice, so you can hear how that sounds to you. And yeah, that's pretty much it about the microphone. It does work, but that's about everything. This is a very simple test to test how the microphone of the Lenovo X5 sounds. So whatever you're hearing now is directly from the X5 being placed on my head. And yeah, judge for yourself how you find it. I could also tell you in a small story, but I think I spare you the time. This should be more than enough to give you a clear view of how well it sounds, or how poor it sounds for its appropriate price. Let's come to the verdict. And yes, my verdicts are always price performance based, and this means in this case the X5 for like 35 to 50 euros is a good enough product. It does everything in bone conduction headphone for sports needs to do. It has 8 GB of internal storage, which should be enough for a big enough MP3 library, allowing for like at least dozens of hours of music, and the battery life with like 5.5 hours is long enough. So this feature alone makes it a really good choice for me. And if you don't want to carry your smartphone around when doing sports, I think it can also be a good choice for you. However, again, let me say there are problems. 11 steps in volume, the 2 highest steps not being usable because of distortion, and the 2 low steps also not being usable because they're too quiet, means there isn't much headroom for in terms of volume to play around according to your surroundings. So that is a small problem. And the other one is the fidgetiness with the IPX8 rating with this rubber cap. If you actually want to go swimming, I don't think this will work too well for swimming. And that means if you really need IPX8 because you are a swimmer, maybe look for something else. I'm just not sure enough that this will really stay safe enough and will protect your device from shortage due to like real swimming. So yes, overall I would say I would recommend the X5 if you just want to do some sports with internal storage. It's good enough, but please don't try to expect so much from it. I think like something like the Shogsy or how this brand is called, I think they are sounding better and most likely they're also a bit more comfy, but I have not tried them in detail. I only had put them on in an electronics store and I was like, is it too much for me just for some sporty? This thing is totally fine for me there. And yeah, that's pretty much it, my review for the X5. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions, if you have criticisms, if you have feedback, please leave a comment. And with this, Don Spector, out!